Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of OA News Overtime. I'm Jordan Hill with Justin Lee, as always.
Jordan Hill, as always. What's up? How we doing?
Doing good. The bye week is in sight, but before we get there, man, big game on the road, early game on the road.
You know, Jordan, I feel like we say this every week, but I feel like we're going to learn more about our Auburn Tigers after this game.
I swear we really have, but this time we mean it.
This time I mean it.
We really mean it.
Yeah, I think so. Because, you look at Arkansas is in a dead heat with Ole Miss, so maybe you get an idea of how the Ole Miss game is going to go. I just feel like you get a little bit better idea. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of getting this game done with and going into the bye week, kind of evaluating, where Auburn football is, because we don't know.
No, and it changes. It fluctuates. Life in the SEC is all about ups and downs and trying to survive, basically.
Yeah.
Before we kind of talk a little bit about Auburn, Arkansas, going back, 34-10, Georgia beat Auburn on Saturday.
Sure.
Any lingering thoughts, anything that you've had time to kind of think about that sort of is still stuck in your mind as we get ready for this next game?
No, I thought Auburn would cover, and I thought they should have. I was, underwhelmed by the performance, much like the Penn State game earlier when I thought Penn State should have won that game. I didn't think
that Auburn should have won that game.
Auburn should have won that game, yeah. And Sean Clifford went 38-41 or whatever.
Yep. Played like a video game.
In much the same way, I thought Auburn would lose, but by 12 or so, and I thought Auburn could have performed better. We go back to a home field advantage matters. It was true on Saturday. The Magic just happened to be in Kyle Field in College Station instead of here in Auburn. But, hey, man, the home field advantage matters. You saw Florida keep up with Alabama when they were at home, and Texas A&M keep up with Alabama. And I thought Auburn could keep up with Georgia better than it did, but it didn't.
My biggest thing, which several of us on the beat wrote about this week, was the receivers.
Yes.
That's the thing. I know Pro Football Focus had them at about 7 drops. I've seen a few people. Again, I to be truthful, I didn't go back and count the drops, but multiple people said, it's more like double digit, and you could probably go here and there. But receiver play has just left a lot to be desired, other than like Kobe Hudson. It just seems like this group as a whole is underwhelming. And I talked about this today on a couple of the radio shows I've talked on getting ready for the Arkansas game. You can kind of understand why there was frustration on Brian Harson's side and was like, hey, we need to make a change. Now, you could, argue the benefits and if it was the right time, but...
And the recruiting.
Yes. There are obviously different, angles and implications of a move.
Sure.
But these receivers are underwhelming, and they're not going to... If you keep playing like this, there's been a few people talking about, Auburn's still alive in the SEC West. Brother, if they keep playing like this, they're not going to be especially
not allowed
the
for
receivers.
A bowl game, brother.
You have to have, people want to criticize Bo Nix, and at times it's fair.
Sure.
But he can't catch the balls he's throwing.
No.
I'm thinking of a specific one, and it was several different receivers. It was not one guy. But it might have been a fourth down when he hit Shedrick Jackson on a slant, and Shedrick should have called it and didn't.
Yep.
And it's like, that's the difference, and that was the big thing that I wrote from my gamer, was the opportunities were there, maybe not to win the game.
Sure. But
definitely not to lose 34-10.
Sure. No, I agree with you. I do think they should have created more opportunities. You almost saw me break my laptop over my knee when it's over here, run the freaking ball. Tank gets one red zone carry, and it's a touchdown. I'm like...
No, like I tweeted on Saturday, people on both sides of that rivalry now have, had complaints about Mike Bobo, and it's just the nature of it. But
are the receivers performing well in practice to where you have this faith in them? Why aren't you just running the ball? I don't understand it. But listen, whenever, it's never going to look pretty when you get blown out by the number one team in the country. Which
and we knew going in.
Georgia became the number one team in the country.
Yeah, and we knew going in that running the ball against that Georgia front was going to be very, very difficult.
Sure, but and I think about in 2018, I don't know if you remember this, when Joe Burrow beat Auburn. Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson didn't pressure him at all because they kept a tight end back, and they schemed it that way. The coaches took it out of their hands. But we saw Auburn seemed to feel, and obviously Mike Bobo knows infinitely more about football than me, but he seemed to feel that the way Auburn's going to win was to throw the ball, I guess, because they just gave up on running the ball.
Yeah.
Gave up on it.
Yeah.
Much like Chad Morris at South Carolina last year.
And how did that work out?
Yeah, not well. But I'm just saying, they didn't try to do anything different. They tried to just play the game that they've been playing. And like you say, going into the bye week. So let's look at Arkansas, right? You win this game, go into the bye week, maybe you can move some pieces around and start looking at different things and reevaluate to try to get 8 or 9 wins out of the season. But that's the opportunity, I think, that lay bare in front of Auburn football.
I agree. Let's talk a little bit about this Auburn-Arkansas game.
Can we just say, okay,
Yeah.
So you mentioned the SEC West is wide open.
Oh, no. I should have known.
Well, I just want to talk about how volatile so 2 weeks ago, we go down to Baton Rouge. We leave Baton Rouge, and Auburn just won a game, and we knew they weren't going to beat Georgia even then. But Auburn had just won a game. Arkansas had just got crashed down to reality by Georgia, and Texas A&M was spiraling, plummeting. They had lost their second game that week. Fast forward to this week, it's amazing how quickly the outlook has changed, how volatile it's been. Because now, all of a sudden, Auburn has a new slew of problems, it feels like. Arkansas has an offense, because it boat raced with Ole Miss 52-51. And Texas A&M is alive again.
And just took down the best team in the country.
Yeah, and they're not gonna. Yeah, and they're certainly not quitting on their season, and it's gonna be a living, breathing team that plays Auburn later this year, a ranked one too, as we thought from the beginning. But then they went down. Now they're back up again. That's what I'm saying. The outlook has been so volatile, and I don't know what to make of that really, other than. Go win in Arkansas and get to the bye week desperately. It's almost like a team desperately needing to get to the halftime break, get to the locker room.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen in Arkansas. Like we say, we'll do our predictions here at the end of the podcast. But I don't know. Like we say, I don't know. We'll see what happens again this week. And I think we'll learn more about the team again, truly this time.
I agree. So let's talk a little bit about this game. To me, the two keys to this game, very simple. One, we just talked about, run the ball. Auburn has looked very average and straight up very bad running the ball against Georgia, but have been pretty so-so against Georgia State and LSU, and then contain KJ Jefferson, because KJ has made big plays and was huge in that Ole Miss game. I mean, they were a 2-point conversion away from winning that thing.
Sure.
I think it comes down to those two elements, and if Auburn can't run the ball, and you're asking, again, we're going back to the Penn State game when I talked about if you have Bo Nix throwing 35, 40, 45 times, generally that's not going to work out. It did work out in that LSU game, but because he just reached a whole new level of he was seeing he was seeing things in 5D, I think. Like, it was just nuts. You're not going to get that every time. You have to run the ball. And even if you work him in as a running threat, with design runs and options, crazy concept, I know. Right
before what set up Tank's run, a quarterback draw.
Yeah. I think it's those two elements. It's getting the run going and not letting KJ just burn you with guys like Treylon Burks and some of those big play guys. To me, that's going to be the key in Auburn having a chance in this one.
Got to tell you, man, I don't know what to expect. And it's one of those, I feel like it's one of those, like 2018 was one of those years where 2019 was crazy because Auburn just could have won and lost literally every game they played.
Yeah.
But 2018 was one of those years where Auburn took care of the people they should have beat, it felt like. Lost to the people they shouldn't have beat. So it's almost like I could very well see an Auburn team go up to Arkansas, okay, we can run on these guys, win the game. And maybe that's how the rest of the season plays out. Against the teams you can run on, you win. Against the teams you can't run on, you lose. Maybe that's how this plays out. I could also see Arkansas hanging 50 points again. I don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, these are the ones where you learn, I guess. It's kind of weird that we're this far in the season, knowing very little of what to make of this football team, and more so this season. But I think it's been up and down for Auburn, and like I just keep getting hung up on, it's been up and down for everybody. The outlook has been up
outside
and down.
of like Georgia. I mean,
Yeah,
like really,
right.
it's been a select few that have not been kind of
Right.
risers and fallers. Because even Alabama before the Texas A&M game, you had that Florida game where they
Right.
almost lost that one too.
Right. Right. I agree. All right, Arkansas.
Yes. Let's turn the attention to Arkansas, and we're going to throw it to another beat writer who was very nice and took the time to talk with us. Andrew Hutchinson, he is an Arkansas beat writer for Rivals. Had a chance to talk to him about his expectations, what he's looking for in this game, the keys from Arkansas's perspective. And for the Auburn fans that are going to make the trip, he gave us a few restaurant recommendations and gave us the whole package.
Nice.
So let's hear what Andrew had to say.
Well, Andrew, a big game coming up on Saturday. Auburn traveling to Arkansas. This Arkansas team's 4-2, nearly 5-1 after last week's game. Just what are your thoughts on where this Arkansas team stands, and what sort of stands out about them coming into this Auburn game?
Well, the fact that they're 4-2 and ranked in the AP poll, and they were top 10 before having to go down to Georgia for just a showdown with what might be the best team in the country. They were number 8. Considering 2 years ago they were 2-10 and had lost like 18, 19, 20, I can't even remember how many SEC games in a row, and they just were not competitive. It's incredible. I mean, we saw some glimpses of it last year during the weird 2020 COVID season. They won 3 games, could have won several more. I think most people probably remember the Auburn game. Probably should have been a win for Arkansas. So we saw some glimpses, but they still went 3-7. But now this year, I think most people were thinking, hey, if this team can make a bowl game, that would be a really positive step in the right direction. And now it looks like not only are they going to make a bowl game, but if they can, maybe beat Auburn, you still got you got an FCS team on the schedule, maybe beat Mississippi State, maybe win at LSU. You got Missouri on the schedule. I mean, you could legitimately win, 8, maybe have an outside shot at 9 wins. And that before the season, I said if Arkansas won 8 or 9 games, Sam Pittman should be SEC Coach of the Year, and I stand by that. So it's really a phenomenal turnaround that Arkansas has had in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I think you've got a good point. If they're able to keep up that success, you would think that Sam would have a really good shot at the award. I want to ask you about KJ Jefferson. He's been a guy that people really, even past just the SEC, people around the country have noticed. What have you thought of his play so far this season? What sort of stands out about what he's able to do behind center?
Yeah, he's far exceeded my expectations. I mean, I knew that he was QB1, all the way. Since spring ball, it was very obvious that he was the number 1 option for Arkansas. And I said in my preseason predictions that Arkansas will go as far as KJ will take them. And I didn't have a ton of confidence in him that he was going to be able to take them, into the top 25 or anything, because he is just a redshirt sophomore. He had started a couple of games in spot duty his first 2 years, but this was his first time being the guy, first time being the full-time starter. And I was a little bit worried about it, but he is, just not just his play on the field, but just the intangibles, the leadership that comes with being a quarterback. He was voted team captain despite being a redshirt sophomore. I think that says a lot. The team really rallies around him. And then as far as, a player, he's dynamic. He throws one of the best deep balls probably in the country. Statistically, if you look at Pro Football Focus, there's only a handful of guys that are better than him on throws 20-plus yards down the field. It helps when you got a guy like Treylon Burks catching the ball, but he has been really, really good throwing the ball deep. He's also really, really good with his legs. We've seen he ran for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns against Ole Miss. Granted, that's not the best defense in the world, but he's done that several times. He hadn't crossed the 100-yard mark yet for a single game. He should have against, I can't remember if it was Rice or Texas 1. He had a long touchdown run wiped out by a penalty that really didn't have an impact on the play that would have put him over 100 yards. But he is running the ball really, really well, and he's a physical runner. He's not a guy that's going to just outrun you and avoid hits and everything. He's going to lower his shoulder and deliver a blow. You could do that when you're 245 pounds like he is. He looks quite large. The area that he probably struggles with the most is just accuracy on those shorter throws. He tends to kind of sail them There was a pass against Ole Miss that I mean, you could argue kind of cost them the game in that he overthrew an open receiver on a slant route in the end zone. If he would get to where he could complete those passes, then he would be one of the premier quarterbacks in the SEC and in the country. Until then, he's just really, really good and just incredibly exciting to watch. I was looking at his numbers, through the halfway point of the season, and he's already on pace to be the record holder as far as like yards per play. When you look at his passes and his runs, surpassing the record currently held by a guy named Ryan Mallett, who was pretty good. So he is off to a really good start this season, and I think as the year progresses and he may be looking forward to 2022 and 2023, I think Arkansas has got something really special there.
You mentioned Treylon Burks. Who are some other players, either on offense or defense, that you think Auburn fans may be hearing a good bit from on Saturday?
Yeah, Arkansas has got a really good run game, and they've got 4 guys that legitimately are guys that could carry the ball and be a solid running back for them. I mean, Treylon Smith is the starter. He leads the team in rushing, but Rocket Sanders, aptly named, is a guy that is coming off of a 139-yard performance. He's a true freshman, really starting to grasp the position because he was actually originally recruited to be a receiver. And then during spring ball, when he was an early enrollee, they moved him to running back. Doing really well there. Dominic Johnson's another running back. He's kind of the bruiser. He's a guy that will just run over you. It takes 2 or 3 guys to bring him down to the ground. And he's also shown some pretty good quickness for a guy his size. Then AJ Green, he's still kind of coming along. He had an injury during fall camp that I think kind of hindered his progression, or he would have a lot better numbers at this point. But he has shown some explosiveness with a nice long touchdown run against Texas, touchdown reception against Texas A&M. So he's made some plays. The receiving core, Warren Thompson, former 4-star recruit, transfer from Florida State, that was kind of his coming out party against Ole Miss. Looked really, really good. He continues to progress as he learns the playbook, things like that. He's probably the top guy. Tyson Morris is also a guy that can catch passes at a really high rate. He's a former walk-on that has exceeded anyone's expectations. So that's probably the main people on offense. Defensively, it all starts with that linebacker core. It's an unheralded group, in terms of, Grant Morgan. He was an All-American last year. He's a former walk-on. Hayden Henry, he was a guy that was a blue shirt, started out as a non-scholarship guy, 2-star recruit. He's also, a starter back there and plays well. Bumper Pool, he was actually a 4-star recruit. He comes off the bench and rotates with those guys, plays a lot of snaps. Those guys need to play well for the defense to work. Then, up front, defensive line-wise, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do, whether they go with a 3-man front or a 4-man front. They've tried the 3-man front last couple of weeks. It has not gone well, as Ole Miss and Georgia have ran for about 600 yards combined. They've just torched them on the ground. And so Sam Pittman has said some changes are coming there. But the key player up there is probably, one of 2 transfers. Trey Williams at defensive end. He's a guy that really dominated in the Texas A&M game, has not played up to that level the last 2 weeks, but he's got the potential to do that. You're really going to need somebody to help set the edge and kind of contain Bo Nix, and that could be the guy to do it. And then John Ridgeway, a big defensive tackle, transfer from the FCS ranks from Illinois State, just a mountain of a man, 6'6", 320, and just super strong. He played really, really well earlier in the season. Hasn't quite flashed as well as he did like against Texas, but has still been a steady force there in the middle of the defensive line. And then on the back end, you got to talk about Jalen Catalon. He hasn't played as well as he did last year. I think it's partly because he's been banged up. He's had some injuries off and on. Now he's playing with a broken hand, so he has a cast on it. Probably cost him an interception against Ole Miss that also could have changed the trajectory of that game. But he's a guy. He's a headhunter. He's probably got kind of a bad reputation, amongst like the officials, because anytime he hits someone hard, he's going to draw that targeting flag. Been ejected a couple of times, but he also he plays really, really well. Haven't quite seen that to the fullest, level of what we expected so far. But I feel like it's going to eventually flash, and he's going to make a big play that helps Arkansas, because he's probably their best, pro prospect on the defensive side of the ball.
When you look at Saturday's game, Andrew, what are the keys in your mind from Arkansas's perspective? And if you feel like giving a prediction, by all means, have at it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I feel like Arkansas is going to come out ready to go. I would, from an Arkansas perspective, you probably wish it wasn't an 11 a.m. kickoff, so that way, the fans could have a little bit more time to get amped up and ready to go. But I feel like the key is going to be, can Arkansas stop the Auburn rushing attack? I mean, they haven't been able to stop the run the last 2 weeks. I mean, they've just run all over them. And I think everyone knows Tank Bigsby is a stud. Jarquez Hunter has played really, really well so far this year. Can they stop those guys? And then can they contain Bo Nix? I mean, he's a playmaker. He's not exactly the most accurate passer in the world. I don't think he's completing but like 57% of his passes, something like that. But he makes plays. I mean, there's no denying it. I mean, we all saw what he did against LSU. So can you contain him? Can you keep him from hurting you with his legs? Matt Corral really hurt him with his legs. Stetson Bennett, the former walk-on at Georgia, he made a few key plays with his legs, although he didn't really necessarily have to in that game. But that's going to be the key, in my opinion, is can Arkansas contain the run game, and whether that be with a 3-man front or a 4-man front. I'm not sure what Barry Odom's going to draw up, but I think that's going to be the key. As far as a prediction, I'm still torn on this. I could see this game going either way. I'll probably pick Arkansas. I think Arkansas plays really well at home, and that's probably going to be the difference. If this game was down at Auburn, I would maybe lean toward the Tigers, but I like Arkansas's chances in this game. I think they're going to try to really put those, back-to-back losses behind them and get back on their winning ways, ahead of, they got an FCS team next week and then a bye week. So I feel like if this is a really big game at the end of a just brutal stretch, if I was really kind of hoping Auburn would stay in the top 25 of the AP poll, because it would have been the first time in school history that Arkansas has played, 4 straight top 25 showdowns. Because they had, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, and now Auburn, and then throw in Texas a couple of weeks before Texas A&M, and it would have been the 5th ranked opponent in 6 games for Arkansas. As is, it's just outside of the top 25, so it's still a heck of a matchup for Arkansas. They are, in fact, favored, as far as Vegas is concerned. First time they've been favored over an SEC team in, I don't know, since the Clinton administration, something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle, kind of the pressure of being the favorite this Saturday. But I think Arkansas has enough to pull it out. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if it goes either way.
I'm sort of like you, Andrew. I've kind of gone back and forth. I really do think no matter who wins, I think it's going to be a pretty competitive game. Before I let you get out of here, tell me, for fans, there'd probably be some Auburn fans who make this trip to Fayetteville, restaurants or things to see, anything that you might recommend for the people that are coming for the game on Saturday.
Yeah, there's a few restaurants that come to mind. Catfish Hole is one that people like to talk about for Fayetteville. That's actually where Arkansas, whenever they've got official visitors, recruits in town, that's where they take them to go eat. Herman's is pretty good. I think there's some other places that are escaping me right now, but I feel like you've got plenty of options. That's a good thing about Fayetteville. Plus, not just Fayetteville, but if you go up north, on the interstate a little bit to Bentonville, Rogers, there's lots of stuff to do up there. I mean, if you like culture and stuff, there's the Crystal Bridges Museum up in Bentonville that's funded by the Waltons of Walmart fame. Pretty cool if you're into that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff to do and lots of places to eat. It's unfortunate, though, that the game is an 11 a.m. kickoff, but maybe you can go watch the game and then go find somewhere to eat for dinner afterwards.
No doubt. Well, Andrew, I appreciate the time. Let everybody know where they can follow you, and if you know what stories you're working on this week, what they can be looking out for.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at NWA Hutch. It's Northwest Arkansas Hutch. And then you can also find all my work at hogbeat.com. That's the Arkansas Rivals site. Got lots of content coming up. I'm actually working on a story now about Arkansas's defense. As I mentioned earlier, it's not exactly played very well the last 2 weeks after being one of the best units in college football the first 4 weeks. What's going wrong there, and what kind of changes may be made? That's something I'm working on as we speak, actually. And then several other pieces I've got plans coming up, maybe a midseason report card, things like that. Lots of stuff this time of year. Staying busy with baseball scrimmages going on and basketball red-white games coming up. It's a busy time of year.
No doubt about it. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you taking some time during this busy time to talk, and I'm sure I'll probably see you on Saturday.
Yeah, sounds good. Look forward to it.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to bring back the real experts. Jake Weiss is with us.
Jerk.
Battlestar Galactica. So we're going to go back to the picks. I'll have to look and do a better job next week. I'm in first.
We'll see.
Jake's barely got Lee for second, so it's close, and we still got a few weeks left to go. So we're going to start with high school games.
Deputy editor, baby.
Auburn High at Smith Station. Auburn High, I'm going to put that in as a lock.
Auburn High for sure.
Auburn High, the baby Tigers.
Central Phoenix City at Dothan, another lock. Central's going to roll over the Wolves.
I'll take Central.
Central will win. They've already clinched the region. Has Auburn High clinched second place? Probably.
They're probably close if they have not.
They'll do it with the win.
Eufaula at Russell County. This could be a pretty competitive game. I want to go with Russell County at home.
Yeah, same. Russell County at home. It'll be a close game, though.
Will Russell County bounce back? How'd they do Friday? I don't remember. They lost to Opelika.
They lost to Lanier on Thursday.
Oh, man, they're going 2 straight losses.
Back at home, though.
I'm picking Russell County to bring it back.
Valley at Opelika. Opelika is going to win this one and take care of region play.
Yeah, Opelika is going to win, and they'll clinch. So
Clinching region 2-6A with the title.
Another competitive game in the area. Elmore County at Beauregard. Could go either way. I'm going to go with the hometown Beauregard Hornets.
Go with the Hornets as well.
I'm going to go Elmore County. I got to catch ground somehow.
Yeah, we got to make up some space. Tallahassee at Holtville. I'm going to go with Tallahassee and our guy Jalen Daniels.
Gonna be a close one. I'll go Tallahassee, though.
Which team has Jalen Daniels?
Tallahassee. Beulah at Goshen. I'm going with Beulah.
Goshen.
Beulah.
It could go either way.
Goshen at home.
We got some disagree. All
the
right.
big rivalry in the area, Reeltown at Dadeville. I
boy.
went back and forth. I'm going with Roger McDonald and the Dadeville Tigers.
Yo!
Make that 2, Dadeville.
Whoa! I'm going with Reeltown. Reeltown kept it close with Trinity. They're a sleeper team.
They're ready. Lafayette at Fayetteville. I'm going to go with Lafayette.
Lafayette Bulldogs on the road. They got an offense, man. It kind of comes and goes, but they have an offense.
Otagoville at Lochapoka. This is another one I kind of went back and forth on. Ultimately, I'm going with Lochapoka.
Lochapoka's at home. Give me Lochapoka.
Give me Poka. You don't just walk into Lochapoka Stadium.
Tell 'em.
Expect a victory.
Tell them. Oklahoma State at Texas. Texas is back. Okay, cool. Hook 'em.
I'm torn.
Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy gonna get the win.
I'm torn because Texas let me down last week.
Let it roll, baby.
I was pretty sure they were good. Well, see, so my conventional thinking would be Texas is way down, and this is the game they lose because they lost
but you
to
know,
Oklahoma.
if it's like the hook 'em,
They get beat twice.
It's up.
I'll go with Texas.
There you go. Kentucky at Georgia. Georgia, I think, is going to win this.
Tell us about it, Jake Weiss.
I'm wearing blue. I'm wearing blue for a reason.
Oh, my God.
I didn't want to pick. The smart bet is Georgia, but I'll tell you, it is.
Okay.
I think so. They're at home.
Yeah.
But
Between the
Kentucky's
hedges.
fearless. They have a quarterback that eats bananas. He eats the whole banana.
Oh, yeah.
He eats the whole
You
banana.
can find that on YouTube.
It's disgusting.
He puts mayonnaise in coffee.
That's weird.
That's also very weird. But it's on the internet. You can find this. Pretty sure it's on TikTok.
Is he going to do it, Jake?
So Kentucky's fearless. So give me Kentucky.
Oh, my God.
He did it.
Win outright. Kentucky covers. Georgia wins the football game.
That's right. NC State at Boston
You're
College. Yes. Boston College is my pick.
NC State.
Didn't NC State beat Clemson?
No, they lost No.
No.
Wait, no. NC State. Yeah, NC State won. Boston College lost by 6 to Clemson. So you're
Transitive
right.
property. NC State wins then.
That makes sense. Ole Miss at Tennessee, the Lane Kiffin Bowl. I want to pick Tennessee, but I'm going with Ole Miss.
Give me Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin.
Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin.
The game,
Yeah.
ladies and gents.
Boy.
Auburn at Arkansas. I'll be honest, I went back and forth. I'm going to pick Auburn by 3.
Auburn 35, Arkansas 28. It'll be a close one, though. I think Arkansas is going to be pretty fired up because they're at home, and also because of what happened last year's game.
Yeah.
Good point.
I forgot all about last year's game. I would say I've gone back and forth, but I haven't really thought about it enough. I'm picking Arkansas at home. I think it'll be tough for Auburn, and maybe they'll prove something. Once again, I'm the least out of us because I picked Auburn to beat Penn State, and I picked Auburn to lose to LSU. Mm-hmm. So I've been very bad at picking Auburn so far.
So if you're an Auburn fan, you should be very happy.
Very excited.
Very happy about
excited.
This.
But I'm gonna pick Arkansas by 4 or 6, one score game. But I think the Razorbacks have something brewing up there. So we'll see. And by that token, if Auburn goes up there and wins, I'll be impressed.
I agree. I think it's going to be a very good game either way. Let's get out of here. Appreciate our buddy Jake coming back on.
Picking Kentucky
with
the Wildcats.
Very gutsy pick.
I said Georgia was the smart pick, though. I want that to be remembered.
Okay. Putting out that disclaimer.
What does that mean?
We're going to wrap it up here. For Justin Lee, I'm Jordan Hill. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.